This tutorial is going to give you an introduction to Final Cut X. We're going to go over how to open the program, how to import media, how to start a new project, how to bring a clip into your timeline, how to add effects and transitions to that clip, and then finally how to share it. During the course of the tutorial, we'll also go through the various names for the windows within the display. So let's get started. First, we're going to go up to Go, and then Applications, and then scroll down till we find Final Cut. And we'll click there. Then wait for that to open up. Okay, so first thing you're probably going to want to do if you're starting a new project is import your media. And that's pretty easy because we just got this Import Media button here. So we're just going to click on that. Then we're going to find the storage device where this is located, and for us it's going to be right here. Then go through all the folders till we find clip we want, and then we'll import that. Just as a side note, you can also import multiple clips. You just have to select them individually down here. But right now, we're just importing one. So then we want to add to an event. We're going to add to this generic existing event. And the interesting thing is right here. So do we want to copy to the library, or do we want to leave files in place? There are some things to consider because you'll be using this in the Student Media Center. So if you've got a fast enough hard drive, then you can probably just leave the files in place, basically. And basically all that means is they're going to just stay on whatever device you have them on, instead of being transferred over to this computer. However, if you have a slower device, like a USB hard drive, something like that, then you're probably going to want to copy them to the library, which means that they're going to be transferred over to the Mac in the Student Media Center. And the reason for that is basically so that the program doesn't start to lag as it's trying to reference and access the files on your hard drive. The downside to copying them to the library is that the computers in the Student Media Center, similar to most of the computers on campus, don't save anything to the hard drive after you log off. So you're going to need to transfer your media back to your hard drive when you're all done. Also something to keep in mind is while your files, all your media files will be kept on your hard drive, the project file or all the edits you've done to them is going to be kept on the computer. So you're going to need to transfer that to the hard drive when you're done regardless. And we can help you with that when you get to that point. So anyway, getting back to this, we're going to copy these to the library just because our device is a little slow. Okay, so now the files are being transferred in, and they are now showing up in our browser, which is this section. So let's just go to the window here just as a little check. And you can see here kind of a progress of the media being imported. That's just kind of a good indicator of how long it's going to take. You can see it's moving kind of quickly. But you don't want to do too much editing before everything's imported. Okay, so let's just take a look at what we've got here. So up here you can see you've got your libraries list, and that's just where all your media elements for your project kind of go. So you've got them organized. They've got libraries here and then events, and you can have numerous libraries and numerous events within those libraries. You can think of kind of events as a way to break up your footage types, and your libraries could be more or less your project. It's kind of up to you how you want to organize it, though. So you could have your library be like your Act 1, and then all the scenes within that act could be your events. You could break it up by project if you were doing it by class. So, your library could be your class, and event 1 could be the first project, second project, third project, or it could be by project, and then all the events are all the scenes within that project. It doesn't really matter how you do it. It's just whatever makes logical sense to you. Just understand that libraries are kind of made up of several events, and events are made up of usually several clips or graphics and things like that. So you can also see up here in libraries, they got kind of generic names right now. And I'm going to make them slightly less generic by just clicking, and you hit Shift and then click again. I'll just call this Test Library And then down here, test event. Okay, so now we've got an event and we've got a clip. And what's the next step? That would be creating your project. And again, it's got a handy little button. You just go new project here. Then you can title it, and I'm going to give it the super helpful and creative name of test project. And I keep it in test event. Now, if we had more events, we could put it in those, but we've just got the one for right now. So we'll hit OK. So now we've got a timeline here as part of this project. And we can bring in all our different elements into this timeline. Now, before we do that, though, I want to go over all the other parts of the program, because I'm probably going to make reference to them as we move along. So the first thing here is, like we said, this is your browser, and that's where all your clips are going to be located. Then next to your browser is your viewer, and that shows you whatever you're looking at pretty much, or whatever you're trying to play. So first thing, you can play your clip, and that'll show up in the viewer over there. Or if you were playing your timeline, it would show that. The next part is over here. We have the toolbar, and we'll get more into that later, but this is essentially all the various tools you have at your disposal. And then the last thing over here, although there's nothing in there right now, is your inspector. In fact, I'll go click on this clip so we can actually look at something. So we've got our inspector here, and that'll let you make certain adjustments. If we had effects on it, they would show up here. But right now, it's just showing basic color, so if we wanted to adjust the color on it, we could. If we had any audio we needed to adjust here, then it gives us some info about where it's located, how long it is, that kind of stuff. Or it's just got some more information about its attributes and stuff if we were going to share it. So let's go back to video. Like I was saying, we've got our clip here, and how do we start to bring this down into here? The way that I find the easiest is to first set an in and out point within your clip, and then bring it down to the timeline. So let's say we saw something here, so we want it to start here. So we click and then hit I on our keyboard. That stands for in. And then around here is where we like it to end, and we hit O for out. So now we've created an in and out point, or a little clip within this clip. And then we can just drag it down here to our timeline. And there we go. There's our clip right there. And let's say later on we're like, okay, we want to use this part of this clip as well, and then that part. So we had another in point, another out point, and then drag it down and release. And those kind of go next to each other like that. So right now we've got what's called a cut, and that's kind of your basic transition. It's just one clip to the next clip. But we could put something else in between. So if we go up here, we can go to our transitions, and then a whole bunch of stuff becomes open to us. And you can pretty much just go through here and just see what you like, and then, you know, feel free to experiment, but we're just going to put something kind of goofy. So we'll use these curtains. You just click on it, and you can kind of see what it'll look like as an example. And then you drag it over and put it in between these two clips. And then as we go, you can kind of see transition happens, and then there's the new clip. Now, just like clips, transitions also have their own attributes, and those can be adjusted up here in the inspector as well. Something real quick, if you can't find the inspector, it's this button right here. So if for some reason it's not showing up, just click that. So we can go, and if we want, we can change the curtain color. We can have it open only. So when it goes, it's just going to look like that, which doesn't look as good, but if you were having it start a clip, it might be better. And then it's got some various other things for the audio and stuff like that. So we're going to go back to open and close. And let's say we wanted a green, lime green kind of curtain. There we go. And then there. And later, if we don't like it, we can just click delete and then bring over let's say this cube transition for some reason, and then see what that looks like. And there it is. And just like with the other one, it's got its own attributes. The next thing I'm going to show you are the effects. So if we go back here to our tools, we click there, then again we've got a lot of different effects. So if we for some reason wanted this video to look like aged paper, can do that. And again, keep in mind, we have to click on the clip, and then here's our effects for that, so we can adjust how much we want it to do that and to what extent within or how much of the video we want it to obscure, that kind of stuff. And then if we don't like it, we can just come up here and delete it. If we go, so let's pick another one. Let's just go standard kind of black and white, an easy thing. So now it looks automatically more serious, I guess. So we've got this clip selected, and let's say we've made some adjustments or whatever, and we just want to see what it looked like without this effect on it. So that's easy. All we have to do is click that. And that doesn't delete the clip, doesn't change any of our things. It just lets us see what the clip looked like before we made any changes. And that's a good idea to go and check things every once in a while, because there is sometimes a tendency to put on too much effects or change too much. And once you double check, you realize that you kind of did too much, and it actually looks better without all that stuff on it. But that's just a little tip to make sure that you're double checking as you go along. So that's the effects. The last thing we're going to do is titles. And this is just the little things that come up, little text graphics or whatever. And we'll just pick a basic one. So we'll go lower third. So this is you'd see up on like newscasts. We'll just pick basic lower third. We can just drag that over here. So now it's got name and description, which isn't that useful to us, but we can go into it and change what it is. So we'll go here, delete this, and we'll put in something else like, well, we'll just use me. Then we'll come back here, click on this, delete it. And there we go. Cool little lower third. And then down here, like we said with a lot of the other stuff, they've got various little changes you can make. So we can increase the font here if we want. We can also change the font to something a little more interesting or something completely incomprehensible like that if we wanted to for some reason. But we'll just keep it on this one for now. Once you've got all your effects and titles and transitions put in, last thing you want to do then is share it. So you go File, then Share, and you'll want to pick Master File. And what that's going to do is just create a single file out of all your different elements. Now if we look here, we can see right now that this is 2.68 gigabytes, which is pretty big for a file. It's a little difficult to carry around, and it's very hard to upload. And we also look here at this video codec, which is essentially the way that the computer is going to compress this file so that we can transport it, the way it's going to compile all this information into one file. And this is a fairly, well, I guess comparatively uncompressed file compared to other formats. So because most of you are going to be using this for class projects and web-based projects, I'm going to suggest doing this. If you're doing something that's going to be shown on a really large screen in a professional context, you may want to research a better video codec, but for most purposes, this one's going to be fine. You can see it's already dropped it down like a huge amount. So this is now 1/3 of a gig when it was almost 3 gigs, or 2.5 gigs. Then look at this, and then we can just hit next here. And now we're saving it as something. And I'm just going to keep it as the project file we named it as, but you could save this as anything you want. I'm just going to keep it as test. So then we'll hit save. And now it is saving. And it saves in the background, so you can still do things. if you need to. You can work on other projects or whatever. And if you want to see how it's going, then we go back to our background tasks, and we take a look at sharing. Right now it's at 30% or so it's going pretty quick. Hey, there. Now it's all done. And you can then take your file and move it around. You can upload it to Dropbox. You can take it on a flash drive. You can put it wherever you want. So we're just going to close out of that. And then we're also going to close out everything else. And that will wrap up your intro to Final Cut Pro X. If you have any other questions, you can email the Student Media Center at studentmediacenter@rhs.msu.edu. You can also call us at 517-353-8835. Or, of course, you can always just come in whenever we're open.